Happy spring equinox to you. No matter what's going on in your universe, no matter how you're feeling today, what's going on in the world, there is more light today than there was the last time we spoke at the winter solstice. Those of us who are drawn to the wild woman archetype, a force of nature essentially that we can tune into and tap into, many of us enjoy her, enjoy this kind of wild feminine frequency, this wild feminine point of view, because it brings us into a state of radical aliveness. When we are tuning into the wild woman archetype, attempting to, stand in the stream of her energy, let it flow through us, we are immediately taken into a way of being that is really awake to instinct. It's a way of being that is awake to the aliveness of every single moment, the aliveness of the living world. So that is, in the air that we breathe, in the shifts and changes in the clouds, in the breeze that comes through, in the way the sun comes through the leaves, in the way the transition between night and day rises like the dawn, in our conversations with other human beings, in our interactions with our pets, the creatures of the world, the bird songs, the rivers flowing, this kind of way of really remembering that it's all in motion, it's all alive, it's all moving, is one of the great gifts of tuning into the wild feminine. And those of us, who are into the wild woman archetype, likely you, if you're watching this video, really looking to the natural world as a great teacher, as a great guide, and as a playground, a classroom that we can experience, that we can learn, that we can grow, and essentially dance in. So when we have this big shift from one season to the next, there's so much to pay attention to. It's like, if it is a school year, we're moving into a new chapter of the year. We have a new subject. We have new topics that we're going to discuss, new homework that we're going to play with, new activities that we're going to dance with in the season ahead. So let's just take a moment to think about poles. So if we look at the winter solstice as one pole, and we look at the summer solstice as another pole, that's December and June for those of us who are, paying attention to such things. If you're walking in the forest, which I love to do, I live in the mountains, I spend a lot of time in the forest, what you see around the winter solstice, walking through the forest, is you see the skeleton of the tree. You see browns. You can see the level of vision that is available in the wintertime in the forest. You're standing in one spot because there are no leaves on the trees. You can see really far out. So there's this incredible dimension to the vision. Much of the forest is dormant. The energy has gone underground into the roots. It's relatively quiet out there. That sits on one pole. Then we go to the summer solstice. You're walking on the same trail in the same forest, and what you see is radically different. It is so green. It is so lush. It is bursting with life. And what you see on that trail is not a great distance away. What you see, the trail almost hugs you, because all you can see is like what's right there. And there's so much of it. It's like this extraordinary abundance. It has a very different green, alive feel. Everything is moving. The creatures are awake and moving around. And it's for the senses like a lot. It is much, you know? So these poles, these opposites, having to do very much with how much light we're getting in those parts of the year. They live like these poles, and the equinoxes fall in between these poles. So for the spring equinox, it's right in the middle of the transformation of this winter vision, kind of barren, dormant energy underground in the depths, to this summer aliveness, full expression, so much to take in. Can't see very far because there's so much right in front of your face. The spring equinox is how we get from this to that. So in the springtime, which I think is the season of courage and joy and awe, we get to watch the world wake up again. We get to see the energy that was going down and in move from the root up and out into expression. And those little bursts, the sproutings of the leaves and the bits of green that start to come out will just take your breath away if you are paying attention, if you have the eyes to see it. And because we're related to every living thing, and because we're alive and awake to it, we ourselves can sort of feel this rising up, this beginning to blossom and burst into color. And, you know, we live between the colder and the warm months. You know, we are making that transition. And transitions have magic in them. So that's what's on the, you know, altar, is this witnessing and experiencing of coming back alive, taking the energy that was perhaps laying deep and down and in, which is majestic and beautiful in its own way, to move into truly a reaching toward and responding to greater amounts of light. So there is an experiential teaching in there. And I think, you know, I say experiential teaching because it's not meant to be simply this cognitive exercise, this sort of disembodied philosophizing about what's going on, but it's meant to be experienced. It's meant to be you standing in the in-between, in feeling with every cell of your body, what does it mean right now, this moment, this breath, this spring, this hour, this minute, to be in that transition, and to not stand in its way, but to allow it, to allow it. So that is my primary prayer for all of us, is to allow ourselves to begin to blossom, to allow ourselves to really anchored in whatever was the great vision, the clarity that we may have been dancing with in the winter months when the external world was more quiet. What we discovered there, the dream seeds that we found there, that anchored in those, we can reach toward the light, which it's growing in the sky every single day of spring. The days are getting longer and longer and longer, and there's more and more light. So my prayer is that we allow it, that we rise. One of the greatest teachers in nature on this phenomenon are, the early spring flowers, the daffodils and the tulips that come up, and they are these beautiful, seemingly delicate things, that can be easily picked for a bouquet, are rising up while it's still cold outside, bursting with colors, even when the trees haven't really begin to blossom almost at all. The flowers come up enthusiastically and joyfully, sort of screaming, yes, the sun is back, we're doing this. And even though they look really delicate, right? How strong do you have to be to do that, to rise up, to be the first? So allow yourself to let the flowers this year be your teachers, because what they're doing is extremely courageous, and I think fueled with a joy, a beauty just for beauty's sake, an excitement. There's that great Emerson line, what do you say? God laughs in flowers. To just allow ourselves to feel good and allow ourselves the great pleasure of rising up and playing and coming out of our winter caves and bursting with enthusiasm. So the spring equinox offers us a great deal of joy and an invitation into courage. And I think those two things, especially in spring, are linked, extremely, extremely linked. So, wild women, I want to offer you a practice for the spring. I want to offer you the practice of dancing your seeds alive. So whatever it is, you know what it is. You know what you're hoping for, what you're dreaming for, what you're working toward, what your seeds are, seeds of creativity in works of art, in gardens, in meals, in relationships, in group projects. You know what your seeds are. The practice is to dance them alive this spring. Dance them up and out colorfully. And that is both a very literal practice to actually dance, to dig out your favorite songs, old and new, and every day to dance when you're brushing your teeth, to dance right before you're about to sit down at your desk for a day's work, to dance at lunchtime, to dance after dinner, to dance. It doesn't have to take a long time, a single song, a little playlist that's, 15 minutes, 3 of your favorite songs, you can go and you can dance. And when you dance, to think of yourself and of your life like those flowers that are rising up, that everything that we're working towards, it all takes things that, let's see, don't make us feel like dancing all the time, that challenge us, that push back against us. There's the force of resistance that meets every creative impulse that we ever come against, in the form of self-criticism or procrastination, or just like generally being a negative force in your own head. We all do it. So instead of like trying to drill our way through that resistance, to dance our way through it. So the physical practice is to actually dance. Sometimes I think about dancing like spell making. Sometimes I dance over like the physical contents of something I'm working on. I'll just put on a song and I'll dance my prayer around it. There are no rules to this, just dance and let yourself be of the flowers when you do so. There's also the metaphorical dancing. To have it in your intentionality that as you move through these days of spring, as you move the energy out and up, as you express, as you work toward your dream seeds, that you remember at all times you're dancing with this great big mystery that is all of the ever expanding living world. That if you go to a meeting, you're dancing. If you're negotiating, you're dancing. If you're sitting around the table with your family, you're dancing. If you're doing your advocate or activist work, you're dancing. In every way, you're dancing. So that's the invitation, if you want to take it, to dance this spring, to dance yourself alive, to dance this part of the creative process where we're rising up and out, that we dance it, that we do it joyfully, knowing good and well it takes a ton of courage, but the joy is the fuel. So before I leave you today, I have to let you know, spring is such like very in tune with what we were talking about here, is such an alive time at the Wild Woman Project. We are looking towards the coming of spring circle leader training. So that's all online. It's a 7-week course. It begins in May and the registration opens on March 28th at noon. The seats go fast. We've been doing the training since 2011. It is a treasure trove if you are looking for deeper connection with the wild woman archetype and the wild feminine, and you really want to add to your tool bag around facilitating space for others. We get into both the philosophy and the nuts and bolts of that. So you can go to our website, Wild Woman Project Circle Leader Training. You can get all of the details. You can hear from women who have been through the process. We have hundreds of graduates in 26 countries around the world, in 44 of the United States. If you want to join that party and dance in that way, we'd love to have you. Another thing that's happening this spring is Wild Woman Fest is on the horizon. Of course, it's a summer expression. It's that full, bountiful, bright, alive thing, but registration opens in the spring. So the tickets go on sale on Fest Friday, which is April 12th at noon. There is a pre-sale the day before for Wild Woman Project Circle leaders, members of the Wild Woman Underground, and past Wild Woman Fest sisters. That group will receive a secret link via email the day before. Last year, the festival sold out in minutes. It tends to do that. Who knows whatever happens each year, it's always who knows. But if you really, really want to be there, I suggest going to wildwomanfest.com, getting on the email list, because what will happen on Fest Friday is we'll get so much traffic, it'll crash the site. So those of you who are on the wildwomanfest.com email list will get the registration link directly. So just in case that happens, you won't have to sweat it. You'll get your link, you'll get to sign up, and then you'll be with us in August. It's amazing. So wildwomanfest.com for that one. And then of course we have the ongoing Wild Woman Underground, where we meet weekly, where we'll be meeting today for a spring equinox circle, where we really find a lot of kinship in getting together. We have a book club now. We do circles, we do yoga classes, we do sound healing and breath work and all sorts of things. And the idea is we just wanted to have a space where we could regularly meet with other wild women and practice and play together. There is quite a bit of dancing there. So you can find that information at thewildwomanproject.com, and then just go to the Wild Woman Underground tab and you can join today. You can do like a monthly membership or an annual membership for more of a discount. And we do have partial scholarships available by application for that. So see what I mean? It's alive. For those of us who really try to align our lives with the seasons, it's very much a spring energy at the Wild Woman Project. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video today. And I have a poem to close to leave you with from the great Gregory Orr. He writes, "To be alive, not just the carcass, but the spark." That's crudely put, but if we're not supposed to dance, why all this music?